Everybody, so nice to be here, and I was very happy to meet Funke, who is the CEO of Mainline and fiber optics, and I showed her this next project which I'm working on, which I've also invested in, which is the world's first global hybrid satellite terrestrial all optical network, providing a fully integrated global IP with data centers, with cloud, and folks said, hey, that's cool. She's got her company started by the angel investors. This is an angel investment. So I wanted to focus now on just a little bit about what EBAN does, because I think that's important for you here at ABAN to know about. And yesterday I was at the European Investment Fund. And it was a very exciting day because just like President Obama, when he came to Nairobi at the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, where Tomi and Collins and I and some of you were, we have been working, and he announced, co-investment funds with business angels for Africa. We've been working with the European Commission to get the European Commission to co-invest with business angels. Now, we have been doing this for 6 years. We have been trying to get the European Commission to invest. The reason being that usually they invest with venture capitalists. And in fact, I was being interviewed yesterday by one of the business journals, and they said, Candace, usually people say that the venture capital industry is not a European investment fund, and it's absolutely true, because the European investment fund 50% of the money into venture capital groups in Europe. And then they said to me, they said, would the angel group invest? Or would the angel group exist? And I said, well, of course it would, because we have had no co-investment funds from the European Investment Fund. So, and now we will. And it's just a start, and that's why I had to go back from Nairobi to Europe and then come back here to Lagos. So very, very exciting. So, just looking ahead for ABAN, so EBAN is the voice of early stage investors in Europe. We were created in 1999 by the European Commission, which is also important to point out. Getting an infrastructure in place takes money, and yet business angels want to invest their money into the company, which is absolutely the right thing to do. So you usually do need some type of support and sponsors, and certainly we are working on that with the African Business Angel Network to get that same type of support. We have business angel networks, we have federations of business angel networks, so like a whole country of business angel networks who are with us. We have early stage seed funds. Beforehand, people didn't want to have early stage seed funds. Now, because so many business angels themselves have their own funds, that is something that we have. We work with business angels, we work with individual business angels, with business accelerators. I was just hearing a story about a business accelerator, and we have e-funding and crowdfunding platforms. We work with members and sponsors all over the world, and it's important, this is just to give you an idea, perhaps, we also do statistics. And so in 2014, 7.5 billion euros, which is about, let me see, I think it's unfortunately only about 1/15 of what the United States invests. But 7.5 billion euros was invested into early stage investments in Europe. 5.5 billion euros came from business angels, okay? Because when we had the crisis, the venture capitalists were not investing. They went to private equity, but they were not investing in early stage. So we have 5.5, and then equity crowdfunding is also, just getting started. Here again, we believe that business angels are wonderful to work with crowdfunding. And the way that works is that if a business angel and a group, a syndicate have invested, then they need to go to a second or a third round. They can go to the crowdfunding platforms and they can get that second or third round. It's also very comforting for the business, for the crowdfunding people, because they know that they are investing with people who have put their own money in and who are experienced business angels. So that is very good. And you can see here as well, as Tomi said, we work on getting as many business angel networks as we can, so that people can invest together and that they can share best practices. And so increasingly, we have about 468 business angel networks in Europe. You can see here as well. So the average investment per company is about 165,000 euros or dollars. The average investment per business angel network per year is about 1.2 million. So, you know, we're not talking huge amounts, but we're talking steady amounts. And the average investment per business angel is about 20,000. So it's, you know, it's absolutely right on target. Yeah. And these are statistics that have been validated by TechCrunch, Wall Street Journal, etc. Then also, you know, one of the questions that I asked about earlier was, you know, how many of you have invested, and practically all of you had. And the problem, not the problem, but getting statistics, a problem is what we call the visible market and the invisible market. So indeed, many of you have probably been doing angel investing, but you haven't been doing it together within a group. And so those are the invisible market as opposed to the visible market, which is with organized syndicates and networks. Also, remember I talked about the fact that you here in Africa are truly being entrepreneurial and investing in the problems of today. So this is a snapshot of the problem of the investments in Europe from 2014. And you can see we're behind the ball. We're not in front of it. And, you know, we are not investing really in what we should be investing in, which is health, which is agriculture, which is energy. Now, of course, a lot of it with the ICT is enabling, I sometimes say telecoms is dead, long live telecom. So it is enabling some of these other industries. But you here in Africa have more skills and more knowledge and more experience in tackling and finding the solutions and making investments, which is going to be the businesses and the profitable businesses of the 21st century. Also very important when you are going around, now hopefully, you know, your business angel networks and African Business Angel Network, you will be working with governments to get them to co-invest with you. Now, why would a government co-invest with you? Well, very simple. They have no, remember those people I was telling you about, the French National Savings Bank and the Bavarian State Bank? They have no knowledge whatsoever of what is out there in the field. And so a business angel, not a venture capitalist. Venture capitalists are very far removed from the entrepreneurs. A business angel is there with the entrepreneur in the field, knowing what is going on. And increasingly, governments are seeing that they can invest with the business angel and that they should give tax incentives to the business angel. And why should they do that? Because of this. Because they are creating jobs. New jobs. The only new jobs that are being created in the United States and in Europe are the ones, it's something like 80% are being created by entrepreneurs and by angel investors. So if you have a possibility to speak with your region, to speak with your state, to speak with the entire continent, to the African Union, try to get them to do two things. One, to give tax incentives to business angels, okay? And the way that you can do this is by saying that you have accredited business angels. So I know that ABAN is working together on putting together the ABAN Angel Training Institute. And this is one of that part. And then the second one is saying, as in Turkey, if you are an accredited business angel, your investment is 100% tax-free. 100% tax-free. So this is amazing. And in most of the European countries now, they have things ranging from about 40 to 75% up to 100,000. Okay? So big thing about angels being corrected, angels being incentivized. So what we do at EBAN is we try to professionalize this angel investing. So we have training, we have certification, and we have professional standards. And you can go to the EBAN website, eban.org, EBAN.org. You go to the, everything is there. We have opened it up because we want to make certain that all private investors can have access to all of our training materials. You can also go to the ebaninstitute.org, same thing, we have all of our resources open. What is there? Due diligence templates, checklists, draft shareholder agreements, intellectual property checklists, putting together a business angel network, putting together a syndicate, putting together a term sheet. All is there, free. So just make use of it. We then do best practices. We're trying to build the ecosystem, capacity building, exactly as Tomi said, with increasing angel community, etc. Then, this is more the same. We're very privileged to have worked to help incubate Africa Business Angel Network and EBAN, and to be the Global Business Angel Network co-chair. Together, also founding member with ABAN. This is also very important because what is happening in the fact that ABAN is a founding member of the Global Business Angel Network means that in each of the countries where there is a business angel network, they will be working with the Global Entrepreneurship Network partner lead in that country. The Global Entrepreneurship Network gets money, and a lot of it, from the Kaufman Foundation, which is one of the largest foundations for entrepreneurship, and also the Case Foundation. And so and they are looking to the business angels in each country to work with the entrepreneurs in each country. So the fact that ABAN is now a member, founding member of the Global Business Angel Network is very, very important. Also, a founding member of the Global Accelerator Network and Startup Angels. So what we do is we write position papers telling the government what they should do, not asking them for money, because quite frankly, if you're asking them for money and telling them what they should do, it doesn't work. So we wrote the E-Zone paper, and as a result of that, that is how we now have gotten these co-investments with European structural funds, with business angels. I think we believe, just so you know, we're not here, out of charity. We think that investing in Africa, investing in the Middle East, in having, creating companies that will be able to address the EMEA market is excellent business, and we're very much looking forward to it. Also, we have increasingly now, I've talked about this before, we've increasingly started to start funds. Okay, now this is something that you all should think about. First, you become together in a network, you come together in a syndicate. You gain experience, you know everybody, you master doing the due diligence, you know which person is good at doing what. Consider starting a fund where you, the business angels, have the experience, have the expertise, and letting it open to people who have never invested before. okay? So this is something increasingly that business angels are doing, because we do invest our time, our effort, and yes, our money. And a lot of people are very happy to let the business angels continue doing that work and to benefit from it. The business angels in these funds usually get the carry. So they usually get 20% of the carry, just like a venture capitalist. So that is an incentive for you all. We also have committees, which I think is important also for you all to understand. You know, so you can have fund committees, you can have impact investment committees, you can have intellectual property committees, legal committees. Here again, bringing in other members of the ecosystem. So we also wrote a startup investors manifesto saying what was needed for Africa or for Europe to be able to grow, because every country in the world wants to have new jobs. Okay, so now let's talk about the masterclass. Now, my friend Brigitte Bowman, who is the president emeritus of EBAN, will be coming in 2 weeks from now to Nairobi to give the masterclass there. Brigitte is truly a master trainer, and she gets paid a lot of money to train business angel investors. However, she's made a special exception for ABAN. So she has put together these slides for me. I said, please help me. And so first of all, we're talking about early stage financing, right? And basically, this is where the business angels come in. So we come in between 200K and 2 million, and has been very clear this morning. And I was just speaking with one gentleman who said, Candace, having heard your story, I think I may start a trans-African railway. And I said, well, you know what? In the United States, Sprint, the largest telecom, it was Southern Pacific Railway, and they put, fiber optic next to those lines, so you could start a trans-African railway and telecoms network. So it doesn't have to be small, but the money that you're first talking about, that usual first money, is between 200K and 2 million. And then, what is a business angel versus a venture capitalist? Though here again, the lines are blurring. So I'm always the one that's kind of saying throw the book out of the window. So business angel, definitely, yes, we are private individuals investing our own money. However, increasingly, venture capitalists are also investing their own money, because if they don't, people are saying, whoa, Very important here, what I talked about earlier, 2 to 10% of your personal wealth, no more. It must be discretionary. Between 10 and 100, but you saw that the average is about 20K USD per year. Between 50 and $1 million per round. And usually the numbers are larger with venture capital. But here again, it's changing. I'm on the board of Iris Capital, which is the largest venture capital, first venture capital fund in Europe. And they had gone up to 6 million. They were not investing anything up below 6 million. They've come down now to invest 1 to 1.5 billion. And by the way, we are working with Iris Capital to create the MENA Innovation Fund in the Middle East with the EIB, the European Investment Bank, and the World Bank. And they have said that once we get that up and running, they would invest, they would do the same thing here in Africa. Now, why is this important? Because if you are all together, you as Lagos, you as African Business Angel Network, then there is a group that these large banks and venture capitalists can speak with. So you will have come together, you will have invested your money, and because this area and this you know, the entrepreneur there on the ground. The EIB and the World Bank realize that they do not know. So they are trusting now the business angels to give them the best deal flow and to do the mentoring and to do the networking, okay? So increasingly, business angels, and if you can organize yourself together within syndicates and within funds, you have a very, very good chance of leveraging your investment. We usually say it is 1 to 7. An angel investment should be able to leverage 7 times public money because it is worth that. That private money, that private investor is 7 times from the public money. And when people see that private people are investing, the government will follow you. They will not tell you what you should be investing in. They will follow you. So, and then of course, you know, why are we in this? We're in this because we have to make money. We have to be sustainable. We have to be able to make enough money to continue to invest. So this is kind of, you know, the how business angels make money. So, you know, first of all, you are developing your strategy. You are finding your deal flow. You are managing it. A lot of people think that after the investment is done, that's it. No. What happens is, first of all, you must write into the shareholder agreement that the company is making quarterly reports to you. Quarterly reports. You must make certain that your lead investor or whatever is on the board. If they don't have a board, because most of the times these companies don't have boards, then they have what is called strategic committees. The strategic committee for a young company, a startup, usually needs to meet once a month. Once a month, okay? And your board or your representative on that strategic committee or on that board needs to make a report to you with the entrepreneur every quarter, okay? Anything less than that in an early startup is not possible. And then, of course, you have the exit. And what I said earlier is absolutely true. Actually, when you make your investment, you have to ask yourself, am I going to be able to exit from this company? You have to think, who is going to buy this company? Who can I go on the stock market with it? I want you to know it is less than 1% of any startups anywhere around the world that does an IPO, okay? It's something like 0.5%. And for venture capitalists, it's 2%. 2% of startups get funding from venture capitalists, okay? So you must think, when you make that first investment, who is going to buy this company? Is it going to be a trade sale? Whatever. IPO, possibly, but you know, don't count on it. So you've really got to think, which company is going to buy this company? And if you can't think of it, don't invest. Okay. No, it's really, really clear. So here again, we were talking about, you know, is it the team or is it the jockey? Is it the horse? Is it the trainer? When we were talking earlier, you must know the team. You must believe in the team. And another one of you just came up to me and said, you know, Candace, do I have a conflict of interest because I'm an investor and also an entrepreneur? I said, are you kidding? I would much rather invest in somebody that I know that happens to be a member of the business angel group that I am in and know that she or he is with me together in other investments, but that now she or he is going to be spending 200% of their time making a fabulous company, then to invest in somebody I know nothing about, okay? This is just absolutely key. And you must be able to work with this entrepreneur. The relationship between an entrepreneur and a business angel is very important. And another thing, please, sometimes you hear this, but Tomi does not do it, but you hear this wording, family, friends, and fools. Do not ever, ever say that. It is family, friends, and founders, okay? If your entrepreneur has invested in her or his company, then he or she is a founder and you are investing with them. Nobody is a fool. Nobody's a fool if they have if they have invested in somebody. Business, here again, as I was talking earlier, in order for you to be able to make the return on your investment, you need to have something that can create a profit and can create X times returns. Not every single business does that. And if that business also does not have what we call the addressable market, and that market is not large enough, then it's not going to work. Then it is a donation or whatever, but it is not business. And in order for you to be able to continue to make investments, you need to have sustainable businesses. And it must scale. It must scale. So then you need to have, and we have some lawyers here in the audience, and here again, today there is, you can go to our resources, etc., and you can find the shareholder agreements, the term sheet agreements, etc. But you also need a good lawyer, and a good lawyer who understands venture and angel investing. And usually, certainly in all of the companies that I've been involved with, or funds or whatever, very often my lawyer will invest with me and with us, and is actually usually a member of the Business Angel Network, because lawyers are really important. My dad considered lawyers to be the most important in putting together deals, which makes sense. So what do we not invest in? We don't invest in founders and investors that we do not trust. We do not put too much money into companies where there is no money from family and friends. Very important. You need to have, if you have put in more money, you need to have somebody who's working to create value for that 100% of the time. Okay? In America, we used to have what was called moonlighting. They would go to they would go to work, and then from midnight, 6 to midnight, they would moonlight. But today, you can't afford to do that. So, experienced. A manager has to be experienced. These things, there are no competitors. There are always competitors. The market is big. You've heard of everybody saying the addressable market is 3 billion. Okay, well, how are you going to get that 3 billion? You don't know. This drives me crazy. It is the finance person. It is a finance question. Speak to our finance person. Every single founder, every single entrepreneur knows that cash flow is king. They know to the penny what they have on that day. And I'm looking obviously at you right there. And when people say, "Oh, I don't know," I go, "What? Then you are driving blindly. You're driving blindly with my money, which I'm not going to give you." So, yeah, absolutely. So, increasingly now, entrepreneurs are getting choosy, and they have a right to be choosy. Because in the second company my third company that I was talking about, Europe Online, actually, if I had been choosy about the people I was taking money from, we wouldn't have gone bankrupt, okay? And, it was my fault as much as theirs, but, big names are one thing, but people who have experience and who are putting in their own money, I say it again, those are the types of people that entrepreneurs want to have as investors. And, I sign NDAs all of the time. It doesn't bother me. If somebody thinks that they really have something great, okay, just sign the NDA. So in terms of source investments, I think it's pretty. You're doing all of the right things. So you have pitching sessions. You go to international or national events. You have a seed starters like this afternoon, and also you have been working with entrepreneurs. So you're bringing them. I have never, ever, ever invested in any company that I have not met the entrepreneur, okay? Absolutely face-to-face contact. And even Skype, is good, but it's not enough. You need to be in front of that person because you are giving them, you are investing in them your money. Okay, valuation. My dad, I told you about him. He said, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Valuation is in the eyes of the investor, okay? I mean, it's just as simple as that. And, recently we just invested in a company called One Pulse, which, it's a good little company, but, and now Publicis has invested with us and we're all excited. And I said, look, this company has a valuation of 1.5 million pounds. It's in the UK. And they kept on saying, no, the first investors say that it is worth 3 million. I said, well, of course they would, because they want, to double their money. But this company is worth 1.5. And when Publicis came in, they said the valuation is 1.5. So, it really is, everybody has, and this is something that angel investors are known throughout the world for, is paying too high, okay? So, just think, you're gonna have 3 or 4 rounds after you. This company has got to scale. They are just getting started. They are maybe at 5% of their trajectory. So you cannot invest in a high valuation because you will get killed when the next people come in and you will look bad, okay? And they will say, why do we want to invest with these people? We want to get them out, which is what usually venture capitalists used to do. They don't do it anymore. Then indeed, make certain that you have a watertight shareholders agreement and share transfer agreement. And this is, of course, where, even though there are templates, you need to have good lawyers who understand the situation, the context in which this investment is being done. So indeed, though, once you have that, you can talk about some types of valuation methods. So, the quality of the offer. My dad always said, he called it the unfair advantage. And the unfair advantage is that the company is offering something that is 10 times quicker, 10 times cheaper, 10 times lighter, 10 times faster, 10 times lighter, whatever, than the competition. And that if that factor of 10 does not exist, he would not invest, okay? So, because you need to have, going forward, the other competition, the big guys are going to be able to, get ahead quickly. They have more money. Factor 10 usually does it. The market heat, the buzz, and indeed the cash situation. So now you can do these things like discounted cash flow with, discount rate reflecting risk, the benchmark approach, sales and earnings multiples in 3 to 5 years, discounted back today. So these are good financial instruments to take a reality check. All right, the entrepreneur is coming to you and saying, "Wow, we're worth this and this and this," and just start doing the numbers, right? To say, okay, well, how much do you have today? How much do you think you will have? Discounted back, and usually it's a very, very, very good reality check, and that valuation comes way down. Okay. Also, benchmarking. Benchmarking is good. But here again, you have to be very careful because usually the benchmarker has gotten into the market first. So they've taken up a very, very large part of the market. And anybody who comes to you and says, yes, they got this amount, so we'll get this amount. I go, whoa, no way. So, then indeed, this is, if you want, you can take a picture of it. I can't give you these slides because indeed, Brigitte has worked so hard for over so many years, but if you want to take a picture of this table, you could take it. This is, I mean, she's very, very mathematical. She went to McKinsey. So, you know, you got the passion from me, and that's why we work very well together. So she really does live by the numbers, and she's had steady angel investments, okay? Steady angel investments. She has not had, like me, you know, the 200 times growth, but she's had steady, and that's very good. Same thing here, you know, with your time series and your return calculations. Yeah, so somebody was talking about the process. So, you know, very, very easy. Here we go. How we find the company, we evaluate it, we negotiate, and then we have the shareholders agreement and share transfer. And, you know, here again, this is why it's really important to be in a syndicate or in a group or in a network. So what happens is that usually, you know, you have these 5 people who will come together, and you know, one of them will be the lead investor, one will be able to do the discount tables, another will be able to do the legal, and you work together. The worst thing, I was just talking with the banker, and you know, and saying, you know, you think, oh, bankers, they must know a lot about investing in entrepreneurs. Well, my sister was CAO of JP Morgan in the United States, and she retired. First investment that she did, she put 100K pounds into a company and lost all of it. And then she joined, in the United States, they have a women's investing group called Golden Seeds. So she joined Golden Seeds. She went to the training classes. She learned from other angel investors. When the next time she invested $20K dollars with other people who were investing $20K dollars. And there were experienced investors and non-experienced investors. And now she's very much happier. She has a portfolio of about 10 investments, spread out, you know, the high, the low, the sectors, and she's thrilled. And on top of it, she's also the entrepreneur and CEO of a company that she has helped get started. And those people who she is investing with all asked if they could invest with her. So she just put together a $5 million round, Ruby rockets in the United States. So, but it shows you how this virtuous circle of learning how to invest together, gaining trust amongst your peers, and then if you want to start something new, then you've got a built-in group of angels to do it with you. So indeed, the shareholders agreement, the last point is the most important. If poorly negotiated, it can make partnership difficult. And a lot of times with first, you know, just as we're training business angel investors, we have to train entrepreneurs to learn how to take third-party money. Many of them, so for instance, you know, when you have the, they have to give all of their documentation, they don't want to give it to you. They don't want to sign on the dotted line and guarantee that what they're telling you is correct. If they don't do that, you walk away. You walk away. Because you need to have transparency into every single thing that you are doing and that you are investing in. Okay, just a few more slides. Investment process, so very important too, is whenever you invest, it is not the first and last round, okay? So the investors who are the best angel investors, such as Brigitte, such as Ari Korhonen, who is our vice president, who a number of you people know, when they make an investment, they plan on holding back a certain amount of money for round 2 and for round 3, okay? This is good for the investor, And it is good for the entrepreneur because it takes away that valley of debt. Okay, so plan on having 1 or 2 additional rounds of financing. Most of the venture capitalists that I know today, and here again, being on the board of Iris Capital, they will not invest unless they can be certain that they have all of the money foreseen. Okay. So the exit, that's what we all hope for, right? I have been very fortunate with my personal investments. I'm not sure why, but I have been able to get exits within 18 to 24 months after investing. Okay. Now, when I told you about the other thing where I invested with the venture capitalists or the big companies, that was a disaster. I had to wait 12 years. But because maybe I know that some personal investments, I need to make certain and get the money 24 months out if I want to, then I can do that. But 3 to 6 years after investment is usually typical. Here again, trade sales, are the name of the game. You must think of the exit when you invest. Down rounds are when the company is not doing well. They bring in a venture capitalist, and the business angels get very diluted. When I say very diluted, I'm talking about like they had 100% and they maybe have 5% of the company. Okay, it's very, very bad. And here again, and if you do it well, if you follow the rules, you will make a return, an annual return of about 10 to 20%. In Israel, they were very, 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 very fortunate. I think the point here is the active learning. If you can be with the business angel network, if you can invest with other business angels, if you can use the training documents that exist not only with EBAN, but with the Canadians, with the New York Angels, etc., you will have a good angel investment because you will have spread out your risk. Most people today say that you should have at least 10 angel investments. Some people are doing this pray and spray, but I think 10 angel investments in a portfolio is good. Some you'll be the lead on, others of your colleagues will be the leads on. You'll be sharing best practices, you'll be pooling shareholder agreements, you'll be sharing board seats, and you'll be coming together and hopefully telling great war stories, for everybody. And I hope that this has addressed some of the process questions that you were asking about. And obviously, I am available at president@eban.org, or African Business Angels Network is available, and I'm available for any questions you may have. And I wish all of you great investments and great stories, and I look forward to coming back and hearing them. Thank you.
I guess questions? Some people changing their minds about.
So somebody had asked about pitfalls, and somebody had asked about group dynamics. So with pitfalls, have I addressed some of the pitfalls, or oh yeah, sorry, okay, yeah.
In general, you spoke about having a lawyer with you all step of the way. Some of us may not be able to be so fortunate.
Yeah.
In your experience, you mentioned some things that have gone wrong. Could you expand a bit on how is it in the agreements that are not properly prepared? Is it in looking through the due diligence and evaluations?
Yeah. It's in every step of the way here. It really is. So for the shareholder, well, okay. So already in the term sheet, you want to when you offer a term sheet,
it is pretty much almost a binding offer. Even if you say it's not a binding offer, you should say that. You should say this is not a binding offer. It is, dependent on due diligence being completed. All of these things, that all has to be included, because people will then say, oh, well, you offered us this, and it turned out that it wasn't. You're already there. Shareholder agreements, the most important thing is the decision making. So usually what you do is you have maybe 6 or 7 questions or issues that are the most important. Are you going to be doing a capital raise? Who gets to keep the majority? Anti-dilution, change of the company to another jurisdiction. Those questions. So usually you will find out that an entrepreneur wants to keep at least 70% of the company at the beginning. And the problem is, do you give that entrepreneur, because you want him or her motivated, do you give that entrepreneur the decision questions over those issues? And usually you say no, and you usually say it's 50% or 51%. The intellectual property rights. Usually most startups do not have the money to get patents. And so here again, they may say that they have patents, but they may not even be patent pending. So this is something you have to really, really look into. Then there is the other thing, employee. In Europe, employee contracts can be death. I just got yesterday a phone call, urgent phone call, of one of the companies that we have invested, thank God, only about 10% in, was one of our funds. An employee had been with the company 3 months, had somehow struck a deal with this company that if it got better, if the situation got better, that the money that they owed, which was 30,000 euros, all of a sudden got approved by the courts to be 200,000 euros. And if this goes through, the bank, the company will go bankrupt. And so now what we are thinking of doing is we are now thinking, remember I told you, you've got to do everything you can to not go bankrupt. So we're now thinking of very quickly, and I say very quickly, within 24 hours of spinning out all of the assets of the company, creating a new company, that we will have a shell, and that this person who will not get the 200,000. So I mean, and had that investee company that we invested in, had they had a really, really good lawyer or a really, really good entrepreneur, this would not have happened. And in the meantime, what has happened is we've had new investors who have come and who have invested. Had they known that this litigation, was there, which we did not even know, they wouldn't have invested. So these are just some of the pitfalls, and it really, having a good lawyer. And here again, you can do, there are venture lawyers, and you can do. And I know I'm speaking with some lawyers that are here in the audience, but there are lawyers who will invest with you because they like you, and they also, they also recognize that in helping entrepreneurs at a certain point or angel investors, it's repeat business. It's good repeat business. So they should make special fees for entrepreneurs and angel investors, and they usually do. Okay, and yes, yeah.
Okay, I have 2 questions.
Yes.
Number 1 was about the NDA you mentioned.
The
NDA.
Oh, the NDA.
You
Yeah.
mentioned the fact that you do sign NDAs. My own fear, so the question would be, if I send an NDA and then maybe the next 1 week, another entrepreneur comes to meet me with a similar idea,
Yeah.
but with maybe a better process, about it, and I invest in that idea, wouldn't the other guy, just kind of get me a lawsuit or something?
So the you're absolutely right, and that is why venture capitalists do not sign any NDAs anymore. Okay, so no venture capitalist will sign any NDA, etc. The types of deals, I mean, you could see that I do satellites, I do fiber optic, I'm really at the cutting edge of technology. And I know the market well enough, and the market knows me well enough to know that if they really do have a groundbreaking technology, and they will send me a teaser beforehand to let me know, okay, then, then if it's something I really am interested, if I am interested, then I will sign the NDA, okay? But just to have people who have no track record, who do not send you a teaser in a field that you know nothing about, I wouldn't sign the NDA. And also these, the length of these NDAs is, you should make them very short, like 3 months.
Okay, thank you. Second question is around the face-to-face thingy.
Yeah.
If I were investing with a syndicate and if there's a lead on that syndicate, do I still need to see
No.
the
So
entrepreneur?
your lead investor, yes. So your lead investor, she or he must have met the entrepreneur. You have to, this is why angel networks are so important. You have to know each other. You have to have trust in each other. And you have to, the lead investor, he or she is the one who will have the face-to-face. If you find out that the lead investor hasn't had the face-to-face, and and she or he is telling you you should invest, then you have to think about your peer and say, is this really good? Because no matter what, nothing, if you are going to put your money and your friend's money, your peer's money into a venture, you must see that person. She or he must fly to see you, or you or he must fly to you. And if they don't want to come, it's their decision. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Marek. You pointed out how important it is to have that know-how transfer within the angel organization. But once the organization and the network grows, you may end up having investors with a portfolio of companies which are competing with each other. From your experience, how does that affect the transparency in the network?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think that it is actually very rare that I have ever seen an angel network have competing companies. Because, you are one for all for one, and you want to make certain that your company is going to be a success. And, if it turns out that then another company comes later and you think that they're better, well, usually my feeling is that, and that did happen in one case that I know of, the person, but not the network, was member also of 3 networks. And so in our company, in our network, we invested in one company. It was a windmill company, Aeolians. And the technology was amazing. And the other company was being invested in by another angel network. The technology wasn't so amazing. The technologies were not competing, but the market was competing. And so he invested in that company through his other network, and both failed.
One more question.
I think there are 2.
Okay, 2.
Yeah, okay. Gerard.
Sorry, wait.
Oh, okay, sorry, yeah.
So are there any structures you'd advise that a network have to ensure alignment? So I'm thinking of a case whereby maybe the company is not doing too well. There's a board of directors that from the network that is clearly has a duty to the company, but at the same time, the network might be saying, what's going on, and clearly there might be confidentiality and duties to the share.
So this is what we call, they went over to the other side. And this happens quite a lot. So first of all, in the shareholder agreement, you have to write that the company that's being invested in will have a shareholder from the angel network who has invested who will be the representative for the angel network. Usually, I mean, and it is very, very often the case that they do become very close with the company. And in many instances, we have had then those representatives of ours become the presidents or the chairs of the boards of the investing company. At that point, we name a new representative from our shareholder. Yeah. And because very often it's a thankless job, I am usually the one who is the representative. It's difficult. The only thing I can say is that there is a moral kind of responsibility saying, hey, come on, you now chairman of the board, the reason that you even got there was because we invested with you. Now you got to be chairman, don't forget your friends. And if you do forget your friends, then you're not going to get to invest with us the next time. Peer pressure is great, but you're absolutely right that this is going over to the other side, and we have it happen quite a lot. Because they need, particularly those young companies, they need the experienced people. Yeah.
Okay. We talked about the structure of the angel network in terms of membership and subject matter experts relating to what you're going to invest in.
Yeah.
So doesn't it seem to be like a bit of a chicken and egg situation where, when you're forming the network, are you forming the network with a view you've already determined the areas you're going to invest in and therefore you're going to pick?
No. So what usually happens is when you're creating an angel network is that somebody, one person, will say, or maybe they've been speaking with others of their friends, and they'll say, hey, why don't we create an angel investment network, a business angel network? And they will have, they will then reach out to maybe an ABAN or an EBAN, and they'll arrange an event. So let me tell you what happened in Turkey. In Turkey, I have been on the board of the Sabancı University for 12 years. The Sabancı University, there's the two big conglomerates in Turkey. One is the Sabancı conglomerate, and one is the Koç conglomerate. These are the two wealthiest families and wealthiest conglomerates in Turkey. And each of them have a private university. And so I was asked by Güler Sabancı to be on the board of the private university to help them get innovation and entrepreneurship into Turkey. Because when I went 12 years ago, you ask anybody, it's kind of similar to here in Africa, they said, oh, I want to go and work for the government, or I want to go work for my family's conglomerate. None of them wanted to be entrepreneurs. You go today to Turkey and ask that. It's now number 24, I think, in the OECD entrepreneurial register. It's fantastic, and I have to say I'm very proud of that. But we started with, I said we need to have three things. We need to have an incubation, an angel network, and a venture capital. They got the incubation and they got the venture capital, but they did not get the angel network. And I kept saying, we need to have an angel network. And so I convinced one of the top Turkish entrepreneurs from the United States who had come back to Turkey. He started Maxim, the semiconductor. I convinced him to become to create the first business angel network in Turkey. What did we do? We had an event. It was sponsored by the Sabancı Group in the middle of Istanbul. At the time, I came. I invited my friend Rashid Boma, who was at the time the president of EBAN. She came. We invited all of the Sabancı family, the Koç family, so we had quite a bit of fun in that group. And we had 2 or 3 entrepreneurs who had done well, who had received angel investment. And we said, here, we'd like to create, we're going to be starting this business angel network. We have a speech from the president of the EBAN. We have a speech from a serial entrepreneur, that's what I was at that time. We have speeches from showcasing 2 young entrepreneurs from Turkey. Would you like to join us? Today, that Galata Business Angel Network, strongest business angel network in Turkey, and they've made numerous things. So you can just get it started, and then ask experienced angels or people who have done angel networks to help you get that event together. They'll give you the documentation, and then you can have this business angel networks. Yeah.
I just need to add something. I just need to add something to that very, very quickly, because I know to the left there says Lagos Angel Network. The Africa Business Angel Network is actually the EBAN equivalent. Okay, so that's the network accrediting organization. So if you form a syndicate in Lagos or a network in Lagos, that's who you really need to register with. I just thought I'd get that.
Yeah, absolutely. And by registering with you, then of course, they get all of the, documentation, the best practices, etc.
Any more questions? Okay. Once again, I think Candace deserves to inform the She's made it look so simple. So, thank you very much. Next up, we'll have we'll skip a little. We'll have a presentation about 10 minutes or so. It's just to give perspectives on insights and trends in venture finance in Africa. So it just gives a lay of the land of what is going on in Africa, just to give some perspective. That will be done by Thomas van Halen, or Venture Capital for Africa. One round of applause for him.
Thank you very much for the great introduction, Segun. Great to see also the crowd is really full with people. Normally you always have to try to grab people in your room to be at the event, but this time it's just fully full, which is great to see. My name is Thomas van Halen, working for VC for Africa, which stands for Venture Capital for Africa. And we are the online platform connecting entrepreneurs with investors on the African continent. For today, we already had a great masterclass given by Candace about what is the story about angel investing. My part will fully focus on what is really happening. So, what are the insights and trends? Since we have an online platform with over 3,000 startups registered, we try to answer with the venture funds in Africa report how these companies are performing over time, and secondly also how do the early stage investors active on the platform do over time. I will put some more emphasis on numbers about employment, performance, investment sizes, investors, and lastly, what is the impact from several ecosystem factors. First of all, a little introduction to VC for Africa, since most probably you're not all familiar with the platform. However, good to see some active members being here today. So, as I told you earlier, VC for Africa is the online platform connecting entrepreneurs and investors. But who are these entrepreneurs? These are the entrepreneurs who bring disruptive innovation to the market. So they are really categorized as high growth, high scalable, and the entrepreneurs who really can make a difference to the continent by creating jobs, by being role models and lead the way forward. Around 23,000 members, we have more than 3,000 friends registered, and more than 700 investors are related to the platform. And to give you an idea about the fundraising requests from the entrepreneurs on the platform, those are between 50,000 and 2 million. So it's really about the early stage, pre-seed, post-seed ventures. About the research, so this is the second time we have performed this research. We asked the members on the platform about the 5 indicators, and we do this research together with some partners, which are Research Solutions Africa, Nijrode University, the Africa Organization, and AfriLabs. And we're also really happy to have the African Development Bank in, which can help this research grow into a venture performance index to really show long-term trends and insights in the future. So first of all, to answer the first question, how are these startups generating impact, and are they creating jobs? The first thing, it is a the startups on the platform are creating jobs. So we found from this research, where we surveyed over 250 startups, how many jobs you are creating. We can look at the total numbers, but it is even more interesting to look at the averages, since this really can serve as a benchmark. So what you will see is that in the top 8 countries, the average is around 5 people hired by startups. There's not a really big difference between countries. However, you see that, for example, in Tanzania, the average amounts to 6, but there we saw, for example, some more agricultural startups involved. Whereas looking at Nigeria, the average lies a little bit below. What that means for you as an angel investor is that it shows that you can create impact, and this is only a start. So we definitely saw, because also from last year's research, the numbers grew this year. So we hope to see that again next year. Often a question we get is, great that you have the platform, but are those startups active? I mean, are they generating revenue? Are they generating profits? So that's why we looked at what is the moment of revenue generation, and when they expect to be profitable. And we found that already, so from the startups, almost 50% already created revenue in their first year. That means the use potential of these ventures. And we even found that in year 4, people expect to already generate revenue of over $100,000. So we're not talking about the small retail shops on the corner of the street, but we're really talking about ventures with scalable opportunities. Then, for you, an insight about what are the investment sizes those startups are securing. The total number amounts to $27 million invested in these 250 startups. We found that 44% of the startups has been able to secure any external capital, which amounts to more than over 100 startups. Of course, when you're asking more people, the number will also grow. So it's again better to look at the averages. Looking at last year's research, we found that the average investment size secured was 140,000. This year it amounts to over 205,000. So there's definitely again this booming trend. And looking at your asset class in specific, the angel investor, there we found that more than 3 million has been invested by angel investors on the platform. And to even specify more on these certain areas, because we know that Africa is not one country, of course. There are many countries. So that's why, especially you have to look at the region where you would be most interested in, I suppose. Nigeria. Here you see definitely the average investment size amounts to almost 60,000 US dollar on average. What does it mean for you? On the one hand, is that it can be the case that still the ventures are underpriced, which means that there is a huge potential for you to get into the market. On the other hand, not only looking at the average investment size, but the investments done, we found that most investments on the platform were into Nigeria. So that means that there's more and more interest into Nigeria. Prices are low, so this is the great moment to come into the game and cooperate with, for example, the Lagos Angel Network or other angel investors to search syndicate options. Other things about the average investment sizes is that still the largest investment sizes are found in South Africa, which can be partly explained by the more developed market. And still looking at a country of Kenya, for example, is that we found that since Nigeria has the most investments, the total amount of investment is still largest in Kenya, but again, looking at the underpricing of ventures in Nigeria, I'm almost sure that this will change, and hopefully because of you in the future. Then we research the investors. So where do our investors invest? We see that the main investments are done in the tech industry. So that means ICT, fintech, e-commerce, those really high scalable, high growth startups. Sure, you can make a picture. And then again, so how active are the investors on the platform? So out of the research, we found that more than 82% of the investors has been involved in any investment, and that also comes back to when Ms. Johnson was asking about who has invested, and I was really impressed again by all your hands going up. So this is partly also explained by the research. And then looking at specific factors that influence the valuation of companies. Success factors in this, or maybe as an angel investor to look, I mean, what is the influence on the valuation? You see that when a multinational is in the company, that means on the one hand, a lot of opportunities because you can have access to new markets or other markets. You can benefit from the network. However, that also means that the valuation goes up, or at least the investment secured. So it might be an indicator that, especially when you see the potential in the startup, it might be better to come in before the multinationals are in, because then you're really uplifted, or you make use of the uplift on the investment. And secondly, we looked at the influence of acceleration and incubation. So we definitely see that there is a difference in valuations. So when people are involved into programs like the CC Hub is doing, or the Innovation Hub is doing, valuation goes up. So something to keep in mind for sure. What does it mean to you as the angel investor? Since we are promoting angel investing at a high level, since we see it as a main driver for economic development on the African continent, we see, thanks to organizations like ABAN, for example, a growing number of angel networks, but also local angels. So, for example, we have Prithvi in the audience, who is active in the field. Then again, the angels from the diaspora. So we have groups of angels active, for example, in Germany, in London, in the States, who want to keep involved with their home countries, want to invest in this way. And then the more the growing number of cross-border investing. But then again, it's not only about capital, which was also stressed by Tomi in the introduction, by Candace. Capital is definitely important. However, you as the angels, you can be really important for the success of these startups. So especially in the early stage, the importance of mentoring, coaching cannot be undervalued. And we see this as a really important driver of successes on the startups. And something where we are working day and night on is to turn angel investing really into an asset class. So to make it more like a mechanism. So for example, we are working on new fundraising mechanisms, also together with ABAN. But this is definitely something for the future to keep an eye on. I hope you're now after all these masterclasses, the story about ABAN, the story about VC for Africa, you are ready to invest yourself. So that's why I really shortly show you how you can be involved, because we need you to make the investments in the end. On VC for Africa, you can create a personal profile where you can get updates about all the startups, the entrepreneurs, what is happening. And with the special investor account, you can source deal flow. So that means you can indicate certain areas you're most interested in, whether they are mobile related, education related, it can be anything. This will get you a certain selection. So for this, I choose all the ventures actually fundraising in Nigeria. And this gave me, for example, the result of Irofit. Irofit is a venture already active for a long time on VC for Africa. Recently secured certain investments, and now they are also ready to raise more money. With the investor account on VC for Africa, you can easily visit their profile, access documents, access team members, see more about the revenue model, the financials, and in such a way get a better idea about the venture. Then again, it's not just directly investing. There's also a mentoring part. It's important to make a connection with the entrepreneur. But we do this with the Get Introduced button. Give you the opportunity to directly contact the entrepreneur, and from there you can work on the terms, about whether you would like to do a syndication. So maybe you have other friends or people in your network who also would like to invest, and there we can play a role to bring everybody together. Since, there's nothing like a free lunch in life, today there is, because there's not only free lunch, there's also a special offer for you. What we want to offer you, since this is a unique moment for us as VC for Africa to engage with you, we want to make sure that you become a member of the platform, and you will get the 1 month free subscription. Unfortunate for the existing investors like Mark, for example, Prithvi, you will get a free beer from me during the But make sure to leave your details. We're really looking forward to hear more about your stories, how we can help you best. Always looking forward to hear your feedback. If you see any certain areas where we can be involved, like for example, matchmaking or special events, please reach out to me via Thomas at vcforafrica.biz, and we hope to see you soon on the platform. So thank you for your attention.
Okay. Thank you very much, Thomas. So we're getting to the end of this. So I guess everybody has this. If you turn to the back of it, so although you think angels have wings, they also need to stand on some people. The three sponsors or people who supported making this event happen today and across Africa. This is actually a Pan-African event. A similar event is going to happen in Nairobi, and in Cape Town, over the next 2 weeks. The three people I would like to thank: Lions Africa, United States Department of State, and then also Intercontinental Trust. We do have one of the representatives here from Intercontinental Trust, Mr. William Dupree. Praise. If you just say a few words to all of us. William.
Thank you very much for the opportunity just to quickly introduce Intercontinental Trust. We are a Mauritian management company predominantly, so we put up corporate structures, whether it's trusts, foundations, companies, and fund structures, listed entities in Mauritius predominantly. We also have offices in Seychelles, Singapore, and deal out of Singapore with the rest of Africa. We basically administer the companies on your behalf, and we'll do everything from setting it up through to running it and make sure it remains compliant with all the legal, regulatory, and financial requirements in the jurisdictions. Why Mauritius? Mauritius really makes sense for Pan-Africa trade. So Mauritius probably has the second most double taxation treaties into Africa, really optimizing your tax structuring of your investments and their activities. But also it has investment protection agreements across Africa and a number of countries, allowing you some level of protection against nationalization of companies or sort of governments taking over your business and those sort of elements, with a recourse back to the Privy Council in the UK. So it really becomes a nice international hub or international center for investment. Us as a company, we've got about 160 people in Mauritius. We look after about $66 billion of client assets through the various structures that we operate. As I mentioned, have offices in Seychelles and Singapore as well. Singapore, we deal with the other jurisdictions. So someone spoke to me about trade in the US. We look at other jurisdictions like Estonia and Malta and Lithuania and Luxembourg as other areas that we can also assist companies in setting up. So our role really here is to help you navigate maybe some of these challenges in terms of how you structure the operations to be tax efficient, specifically if you go and look at cross-border investments, and help you, deal with some of those regulatory challenges and also help you put those structures in place. And I think the two things you need to consider is really you as an angel, if you're looking at a cross-border investment, how are you structuring your personal wealth and your investment into that company? And then also, obviously, the trade that company does, how does their operations look in order to be as optimal as possible and ensure you get as high return as possible. You don't want to necessarily pay away money that you don't necessarily need to pay away, because those are things that deteriorate your returns. So that's really what we want to assist with. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Finally, okay.
I did just want to add one thing, because the gentleman over there was talking about process, and just to go over the process one more time. So let's say that you have a pitching event or a venture academy, and that 4 or 5 of you get together and say, wow, we really liked that company, we're going to invest. This happened to me, and then we went that night to our plenary session, and the 5 of us had absolutely no experience in the field of the company that we were thinking of investing in, and but we were so taken by the entrepreneur. When we got to the plenary session where some of the other members had come but had not been at the pitching session, they said, whoa, you know, you don't know this field at all, we do, and this company will not make it. So, you know, it is very important when you are going to make your investment to talk to people and to say, we're thinking about investing in this company, and what do you think about it? And I'll give you two more examples. When we had come together also to invest in a company that we did not know very well, but we thought the guy was okay, we called, remember I said, you know, try and see if you can find somebody that you can sell it to, so you can already look at the company you're going to sell it to. The best exit for that company was a venture capitalist. And so I called up the venture capitalist and I said, you know, can you tell us, you who have so much research and, you know, do technology research all of the time, is this company, it was basically an Internet of Things company, but it was 9 years ago. And they said, absolutely, this is a hot market. You know, we can't vouch for the entrepreneur, but the company is good. The market is good. So we invested in that company and we're very happy. They've done very well. Called up another venture capitalist when we were investing in a social media company. And they said, you know, we don't invest in social media at the time because it takes so much capital to do the marketing. We did not listen to the venture capitalist. We went ahead and invested and we lost our shirts. So, you know, because you asked about the process, so put together your syndicates, but then do that reality check, not only with the numbers, but also with people in the field, people who you might be, you know, a venture capitalist is an exit as well as a trade sale. So, you know, and talk, and if you think, if you've identified a company that you want to do the trade sale for and you're investing, call up that company and say, we're going to invest in it. We're thinking of investing. Would you be interested in buying it 2 or 3 years from now? Okay.
Thank you very much, Candace. Finally, I'd like to invite Mr. Tomi Davies to just give us a few closing remarks and where to from here.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, can I please have another round of applause for our fantastic I hope you all found Candace's masterclass of interest and of value to you. The good news is all those slides that Bridget won't let us have, we have, you know, equivalents that have been arrived at, courtesy of our dear friend, Mr. Rose, of the New York Angels. So if you're kind enough to write the Lagos Angel Network Secretariat, they're more than happy to let you have any of those details. Like I said at the very beginning, this is the beginning of a journey. And the first step is, first of all, to even identify those of you who have a passion and interest, and most importantly, the capacity to participate in using angel investment to develop our continent. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind, speaking to Candace and quite a number of people like GES and others, there is capital waiting to come into Africa. What they won't do is come sit in Africa and build it with you. So they need you as individuals, as syndicates. A syndicate is a group of 5 investors, a lead and 4. As we say, a thumb and 4 fingers. 5 of you form your syndicate. Ideally, like I said at lunchtime, I would love for all syndicates to belong to the Lagos Angel Network, but it is not a prerequisite. The prerequisite is that you're a registered member of ABAN, of which Lagos Angel Network also is. Perform the syndicate. Do not go alone. I think there's some African proverb that I keep hearing repeated. Steve repeated it to us, I think, last night. You know, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with a group. And that is what we're suggesting. It starts with a syndicate of 5. So in terms of next steps, going out of here, think through if this is something you want to do, which syndicate are you going to work with, and how are you going to source that first transaction? And just do it. You know, there's nothing like, you know, we can talk till the cows come home. Write that first check and then take it from there. I hope you found today useful. We have all your details. We will be following up with additional information. Please feel free to ask questions and network after this. I would really, really like to thank our sponsors, most especially Intercontinental Trust, you know, for letting them come join us. I would like to thank Visa for Africa, and most of all, I would like to thank every single one of you for taking the time out to come and join us this morning. Have a great day. Thank you. For those of you interested, there's a pitch session. There's a Seed Star. Seed Star is running a 30-country competition. And the finalists for the Nigerian competition are going to be pitching to us in a session next door. Sure. Here at 2 o'clock. So immediately after lunch, 2 o'clock, anybody that has the time and is interested in listening to the pitches with this badge, you are entitled to join us, here for those pitch sessions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming and having a lovely day.